Maya walked through the crowded marketplace of Lahore, her dupatta carefully draped to cover the left side of her face. The burn scars that traced from her temple to her jaw were a constant reminder of the acid attack that had changed her life forever 3 years ago. At 25, she had learned to navigate the world with her head held high, despite the whispers and stares that followed her everywhere. The attack had happened when she was 22, fresh out of university with dreams of becoming a teacher. Her neighbor's son had proposed to her family. When Maya and her parents politely declined the proposal, citing their different life goals and values, couldn't accept the rejection. One evening, as Maya returned from her teaching interview at a local school, he had thrown acid on her face before disappearing into the night. The months that followed were the darkest of Maya's life. Multiple surgeries, skin grafts, and endless medical treatments had drained her family's savings. More painful than the physical wounds were the emotional scars. People would cross the street to avoid her, children would point and stare, and potential employers would take one look at her face and politely decline her applications. But Maya refused to be defeated. Her younger sister Fatima had been her constant source of strength, encouraging her to continue pursuing her dreams. Her parents, though devastated by what had happened to their daughter, never made her feel like a burden. Her mother would often say, "Beta, your scars don't define your worth. Your courage does." Today was different, though. Maya had received a call from the principal of Government Girls High School, asking her to come in for a final interview. She had applied there 6 months ago and had almost given up hope. The principal, Mrs., had a reputation for being strict but fair. Maya had heard that she judged people by their character and qualifications, not their appearance. As Maya approached the school gates, she noticed a group of teenage boys loitering outside. They belonged to the nearby boys' school and often caused trouble for the girls. Maya had heard complaints from parents about their harassment, but little action had been taken. When the boys spotted Maya, their behavior became cruel and loud. "Look at the monster coming to teach our sisters," one of them shouted. "Who would want to learn from someone like that?" Another added, making exaggerated expressions of disgust. The group laughed and continued their taunts, drawing attention from. Maya felt her cheeks burn with humiliation, but she kept walking. She had developed thick skin over the years, but the public mockery still hurt deeply. Some adults passing by looked sympathetic but said nothing. Others seemed to agree with the boys' cruel assessment. "Ma'am should wear a mask," one boy called out. "She's scaring the children." Maya's steps faltered for a moment, but she forced herself to continue. She couldn't let them see how their words affected her. She had worked too hard to let a group of ignorant teenagers destroy her confidence now. Inside the school, Mrs. greeted Maya warmly. The interview went exceptionally well. Maya's passion for education, her innovative teaching methods, and her resilience impressed the principal. Mrs. had done her research and knew about Maya's academic achievements and the tragedy that had befallen her. Mrs. said at the end of the interview, "I believe you have exactly what we need here. Someone who understands struggle and can inspire our girls to be strong, regardless of what life throws at them." Maya felt tears of joy in her eyes. Finally, someone saw her potential instead of just her scars. As she left the school building, the same group of boys was still outside. This time, they were joined by a few more troublemakers. Maya tried to walk past them quickly, but they blocked her path. "So the freak got the job," one boy sneered. "Poor girls will have nightmares." "Maybe she should teach at a school for monsters," another added, causing the group to erupt in cruel laughter. Maya stood there, clutching her interview folder, feeling smaller with each passing second. The confidence she had gained from the successful interview was rapidly disappearing. She looked around for help, but the few adults present seemed either oblivious or unwilling to intervene. "Please let me pass," Maya said quietly, her voice barely audible. "What did the ugly teacher say?" One boy cupped his ear mockingly. "Speak up, we can't hear monsters very well." The humiliation was overwhelming. Maya felt her eyes filling with tears, but she refused to let them fall in front of these bullies. She had endured so much worse, but something about this public degradation in front of her new workplace felt particularly devastating. Just then, a black government vehicle pulled up near the school gates. Maya noticed the official license plates and the small flags on the front of the car, but she was too focused on finding a way past the boys to pay much attention. The taunting continued, growing louder and more vicious. Maya realized that this harassment wouldn't stop unless someone in authority intervened. The boys felt emboldened by the lack of consequences for their behavior. "Look at her trying not to cry," one boy laughed. "Even her tears would be ugly." Maya closed her eyes for a moment, drawing on every ounce of strength she had developed over the past 3 years. She thought about her sister's encouraging words, her parents' unwavering support, and the successful interview she had just completed. She wouldn't let these boys take away her dignity. But as she opened her eyes and prepared to push past them, she noticed that the atmosphere had suddenly changed. The boys had stopped laughing and were looking nervously toward the government vehicle. Someone important had clearly arrived, and Maya wondered if this might finally bring an end to her ordeal. The car door opened, and polished military boots stepped onto the pavement. Maya could sense a shift in the crowd's behavior, but she remained focused on maintaining her composure and finding the quickest route away from this humiliating situation. Little did she know that this chance encounter would change not only her immediate circumstances, but the trajectory of her entire life. The person stepping out of that government vehicle would soon witness the cruel treatment she was enduring and would be moved to take action that would resonate far beyond this single moment of harassment. Maya stood there, holding her ground despite the continued taunts, unaware that help was about to arrive from the most unexpected source. Her years of quiet suffering and dignified perseverance were about to be rewarded in ways she could never have imagined. Major General Malik stepped out of his official vehicle, adjusting his uniform jacket as he prepared to inspect the security arrangements around the government schools in the area. As the newly appointed Director General of Military Intelligence for the Punjab region, he took his responsibilities seriously, especially when it came to protecting educational institutions. The general was a man in his early 50s, with graying temples and kind but sharp eyes that missed nothing. He had risen through the ranks not just through military excellence, but through his genuine concern for civilian welfare. His own daughter was studying at a university in Karachi, and he understood the importance of creating safe environments for young people to learn and grow. As he walked toward the school gates, accompanied by his aide captain, he heard the commotion before he saw it. The cruel laughter and harsh words made him pause and look in the direction of the disturbance. What he witnessed made his blood boil. A young woman, clearly a teacher or applicant, was being surrounded and harassed by a group of teenage boys. The general's experienced eye immediately assessed the situation. The woman was trying to maintain her dignity while being subjected to what appeared to be verbal abuse based on her physical appearance. General Malik had seen enough cruelty in his military career to recognize it immediately. As he moved closer, he could hear the specific nature of the harassment. "Did you see how the principal gave her the job out of pity?" one boy was saying. "No student will learn anything from a teacher who looks like that." "Maybe she should wear a bag over her head," another added, causing more laughter. The general's jaw tightened. He had dealt with enemy combatants who deserved more respect than these boys were showing to this innocent woman. His aide noticed the change in his commander's demeanor and prepared for action. General Malik approached the group with measured steps, his military bearing immediately apparent to anyone paying attention. The boys were so caught up in their cruel entertainment that they didn't notice the approaching officer until he was directly behind them. The general's voice cut through the laughter like a knife. The authority in his tone was unmistakable. The boys turned around, and their faces immediately paled when they saw the uniform, the rank insignia, and the stern expression on the general's face. The mockery died in their throats. "I believe you owe this lady an apology," General Malik said, his voice calm but carrying an undertone that made it clear this was not a suggestion. Maya looked up in surprise, seeing the distinguished military officer for the first time. She had been so focused on enduring the harassment that she hadn't noticed his arrival. "Sir, we were just," one of the boys started to stammer. "You were just displaying the worst aspects of human character," the general interrupted. "This lady appears to be a professional, possibly here on educational business, and you are treating her with less respect than you would show to an enemy prisoner." The boys shifted uncomfortably, suddenly aware that their behavior had attracted serious attention. Maya found her voice. "Sir, it's all right, I don't want any trouble." General Malik turned to her, and for a moment his stern expression softened. "Madam, with respect, it is not all right. No one should have to endure this kind of treatment, especially not someone who is clearly here to contribute to our children's education. He turned back to the boys, his voice becoming more authoritative. Do you know what real strength looks like? It's not mocking someone who has faced challenges. Real strength is overcoming those challenges and continuing to serve society despite them. The general's aide had been observing the crowd that was beginning to gather, ensuring that the situation remained controlled. This lady, the general continued, gesturing toward Maya, has probably shown more courage in a single day than all of you combined have shown in your entire lives. She faces the world despite whatever hardships she has endured, while you hide behind a group to attack someone who cannot fight back. Maya felt tears in her eyes, but this time they were tears of gratitude rather than humiliation. One of the boys mumbled, "Sorry." Louder, the general commanded, "And look at her when you apologize. She deserves that basic courtesy." Each boy was forced to make a proper apology, looking Maya in the eyes as they did so. Their shame was evident, and several onlookers nodded in approval of the general's intervention. After the apologies were completed, General Malik addressed the growing crowd. Let me make something clear to everyone present. This kind of behavior toward any citizen, especially someone serving our community, will not be tolerated. I will be speaking to the principals of both schools about implementing strict anti-harassment policies. He then turned to Maya. Madam, I apologize on behalf of these young men and, frankly, on behalf of our society that has failed to teach them basic human decency. Could I have a word with you privately? Maya nodded, still somewhat overwhelmed by the unexpected intervention. They walked a few steps away from the crowd, with Captain maintaining a respectful distance while keeping watch. I'm Major General Malik, he introduced himself formally. May I ask your name? Maya, sir. I just finished an interview for a teaching position at the government school. Miss, I hope the interview went well. Based on what I've witnessed today, you have the kind of strength and dignity that would make an excellent teacher. Maya felt herself standing a little taller. Thank you, sir. The principal offered me the position. Excellent news, but I'm concerned about the harassment you just faced. Is this a regular occurrence? Maya hesitated, then decided on honesty. Sir, people often stare and make comments because of my scars. I was in an acid attack 3 years ago, but I've learned to deal with it. The general's expression grew grave. Miss, no one should have to deal with harassment and abuse. What happened to you was a crime, and the way society has treated you since then is also wrong. He paused, considering his words carefully. I want you to know that if you ever face this kind of treatment again, especially around any government institution, you have my personal guarantee that action will be taken. The general reached into his pocket and pulled out his official card. This has my office number. I'm not suggesting you call me for every rude comment, but if you ever face systematic harassment or discrimination, especially in your professional capacity, I want you to contact my office. Maya stared at the card in disbelief. A high-ranking military officer was offering to personally ensure her protection and dignity. Sir, I don't know what to say. You don't even know me. Miss, I know enough. I know that you've faced adversity and continued to pursue your goals. I know that you conducted yourself with grace under pressure just now. And I know that our society needs more people like you in positions of influence, teaching our children about resilience and character. The general's aide approached. Sir, we need to proceed with the security inspection. Of course, Captain. He turned back to Maya. Miss, I hope you'll keep my card and use it if necessary. Our country needs dedicated teachers, and I want to ensure that nothing prevents you from doing your job effectively. As the general prepared to leave, he made one final statement that would resonate with everyone present. Let me tell you all something about courage, he announced to the crowd that had gathered. I've served in combat zones and seen soldiers face enemy fire, but I've rarely seen the kind of everyday courage that Miss demonstrates simply by continuing to live her life and serve her community despite the challenges she faces. He looked directly at Maya. Miss, you are an inspiration, and I hope you never let anyone convince you otherwise. With that, General Malik and his aide proceeded toward the school building, leaving Maya standing there with his card in her hand, and a completely transformed sense of her own worth. The crowd began to disperse, but many people approached Maya to congratulate her on her job and to express their admiration for how she had handled the situation. The boys who had been harassing her earlier seemed to have disappeared, no doubt reflecting on their behavior. Maya realized that this encounter had done more than just end her immediate harassment. It had shown her that there were people in positions of power who valued character over appearance, and who were willing to stand up for what was right. She walked home that day with her head held higher than it had been in years, carrying not just the joy of her new job, but also the knowledge that she had an unlikely ally in her corner. The general's intervention had changed something fundamental in how she saw herself and her place in the world. 6 months had passed since Maya's encounter with General Malik, and her life had transformed in ways she could never have imagined. The teaching position at Government Girls High School had become everything she had hoped for and more. Her students adored her, not despite her scars, but because of the strength and wisdom those experiences had given her. Maya had developed a reputation as one of the most inspiring teachers in the district. She taught English literature, but her lessons went far beyond grammar and poetry. She taught life lessons about resilience, self-worth, and the importance of treating others with dignity. Her classroom had become a safe haven where students felt comfortable discussing their own challenges and insecurities. The school's test scores in English had improved dramatically, but more importantly, the students' confidence and sense of self-worth had flourished under Maya's guidance. Parents regularly requested that their daughters be placed in her classes. Mrs. the principal had been so impressed with Maya's work that she had recommended her for the District Teacher Excellence Award. Maya was shocked when she received the notification that she had been selected as one of the finalists. Meanwhile, General Malik had not forgotten about their encounter. True to his word, he had implemented strict anti-harassment policies at government institutions throughout his jurisdiction. He had also quietly been keeping track of Maya's progress through official channels, pleased to hear about her success. The general's own perspective on service had been influenced by Maya's example. During his speeches to military personnel, he often spoke about the different forms of courage and service, referencing a civilian teacher who had shown him what real strength looked like. One afternoon, Maya received an unexpected phone call at school. Her sister Fatima called her, barely able to contain her excitement. "Maya, you won't believe this. There's been an announcement on the news. You've been selected for something called the National Service Recognition Award. The president himself is going to present it." Maya felt dizzy. "Fatima, that's impossible. I'm just a teacher. I haven't done anything special." "The news said you were chosen for your outstanding contribution to education and for being an inspiration to young women across the country. Maya, they specifically mentioned how you overcame personal challenges to serve others." That evening, Maya sat with her family watching the news broadcast. Her name appeared on the screen along with 9 other recipients from various fields. The anchor explained that the National Service Recognition Award was being revived after several years to honor citizens who the best of Pakistani values through their service to others. Maya's phone rang. When she answered, she heard a familiar voice. "Miss, this is General Malik. I hope you remember me." "Of course, sir. How could I forget? I'm calling to congratulate you on your award. I may have had a small role in nominating you for this recognition." Maya was speechless for a moment. "Sir, you nominated me." "Miss, after our meeting, I couldn't stop thinking about your story and what you represented. I made some inquiries about your teaching work, and the reports were exceptional. I felt that your story needed to be shared more widely, that you could inspire many more people than just your students." Maya began to cry. "Sir, I don't know how to thank you." "Miss, you don't need to thank me. You earned this recognition through your own merit and character. I simply made sure the right people knew about it." The award ceremony was held at the governor's house in Lahore. Maya wore her finest outfit, a beautiful emerald green that her mother had insisted on buying for the occasion. For the first time in years, she wore her dupatta in a way that didn't hide her scars. General Malik was present at the ceremony, having been invited as one of the officials involved in the nomination process. When he saw Maya enter the hall, he felt a deep sense of pride and satisfaction. During the ceremony, each recipient was asked to give a brief speech. When Maya's turn came, she walked to the podium with confidence she had never possessed before. "Honorable President, distinguished guests, fellow citizens," she began, her voice clear and strong. 3 years ago, I thought my life was over. An acid attack had left me physically and emotionally. I believed that my dreams of serving as a teacher were destroyed forever. The audience listened in rapt attention. But I learned something important. Our scars, whether visible or hidden, do not define our worth. They can become sources of strength if we choose to let them. Every challenge I faced taught me something about resilience that I could pass on to my students. Maya paused, making eye contact with General Malik in the audience. I also learned that there are people in our society who see beyond the surface, who value character over appearance. Sometimes help comes from the most unexpected sources, and sometimes a single act of kindness can change someone's entire life trajectory. She continued, "To anyone who has ever felt different, unwanted, or broken, I want you to know that your value is not determined by others' opinions of you. You have something unique to offer the world, and the world needs what you have to give." The applause was thunderous. Maya saw her parents in the audience, tears of pride streaming down their faces. Her sister Fatima was beaming, and even Mrs. had made the trip to attend the ceremony. After the formal ceremony, General Malik approached Maya during the reception. "Miss, that was a remarkable speech. I'm proud to have played a small role in bringing you to this moment." "Sir, you didn't play a small role, you changed everything. That day outside the school, you didn't just stop some bullies. You showed me that I deserved respect and dignity. You gave me back my confidence." The general smiled. "Miss, I've been thinking about starting a foundation focused on supporting victims of acid attacks and other violent crimes, particularly helping them rebuild their careers and lives. Would you consider joining the board?" Maya's eyes widened. "Sir, I would be honored." "Excellent. We'll need someone who understands the challenges firsthand and who can serve as an inspiration to others facing similar struggles." As the evening progressed, Maya found herself surrounded by well-wishers, including several young women who had read about her story in the newspapers. Many shared their own stories of overcoming challenges, and Maya realized that her journey had indeed inspired others to persevere through their own difficulties. One young woman approached her with tears in her eyes. "Miss Maya, I was burned in a kitchen accident last year, and I thought I would never be able to work again. When I read about your teaching success, I decided to complete my education. I start college next month." These conversations made Maya understand the full impact of her journey. She had become more than just a teacher. She had become a symbol of hope for anyone facing adversity. Later that evening, as Maya sat in her family's modest home, surrounded by flowers and congratulatory messages, she reflected on how dramatically her life had changed. The scared, humiliated young woman who had stood outside the school 6 months ago seemed like a different person. Her phone buzzed with a text message from General Malik. "Miss, remember that greatness often comes not from avoiding challenges, but from how we rise after falling. You've shown remarkable grace in rising. Keep inspiring others." Maya typed back, "Thank you, sir, for seeing my potential when I couldn't see it myself." The next day, Maya returned to her classroom with a new understanding of her role. She wasn't just teaching English literature. She was teaching life itself. Her students noticed a new confidence in her demeanor, and she noticed that several students who had been struggling with self-confidence issues were beginning to participate more actively in class. During her lunch break, Maya looked out the window toward the spot where she had been harassed 6 months earlier. A group of students from both schools were chatting amicably, with no sign of the toxic behavior that had once been common there. Principal knocked on her classroom door. "Maya, I have news. The district education office wants you to conduct teacher training workshops across the province. They want other educators to learn from your methods." Maya smiled. "Mrs., a year ago I couldn't get anyone to hire me. Now they want me to train other teachers." Maya, talent and character have a way of revealing themselves, regardless of the obstacles. You've proven that beyond any doubt. As Maya prepared for her afternoon classes, she thought about the foundation General Malik had mentioned. She began formulating ideas for programs that could help other acid attack survivors not just physically recover, but rebuild their lives and careers. That evening, Maya wrote in her journal, a practice she had maintained since her attack. But tonight's entry was different from the pain-filled entries of the past. "Today I realized that my scars tell a story of survival, not defeat. They represent a journey from victim to victor, from broken to whole, from hidden to proud. Every person who sees me now will know that whatever challenges they face, they too can overcome them. General Malik once told me that I demonstrated everyday courage. I understand now what he meant. Courage isn't just facing bullets in battle. Sometimes it's facing the world when the world doesn't want to look at you. Sometimes it's choosing to help others when you're still healing yourself. I am no longer the woman who was attacked 3 years ago. I am no longer the woman who was mocked 6 months ago. I am Maya, National Service Award recipient, teacher, inspiration, and survivor. And my story is just beginning. Maya closed her journal and looked in the mirror. For the first time in 3 years, she smiled at her reflection without any attempt to hide her scars. They were part of her story now, and her story was one of triumph. The next morning, Maya would return to her classroom to teach another generation of young women that their worth was not determined by others' opinions, that challenges could become strengths, and that sometimes the most unlikely allies could change the course of their lives forever. Her journey from victim to victor was complete, but her mission to inspire others was just beginning. And somewhere in a military office across the city, General Malik read the morning news coverage of the awards ceremony and smiled, knowing that sometimes the greatest victories in life come not from defeating enemies, but from helping someone discover their own strength.